Yeah, hi, good morning, you guys. So despite Title 42 still being in place for another week, I have learned that an overwhelming majority of migrants are being processed and released with an NTA, which is a notice to appear. And they're placed in what Alejandro Mayorkas is calling removal proceedings. It's really when they're given a cell phone. We used to see them with ankle monitors, and then they're going on to their destination where they will then be required to check in with an ICE office. But they might not see a judge, go to court for 2 to 5 years because of that court backlog. So sources confirming to NewsNation that migrant encounter numbers are hovering right now around the levels that we saw during the Del Rio crisis back in September of 2021, when 16,000 migrants, mostly from Haiti, were beneath that international bridge there. So where are the numbers at right now? There are currently 19,766 migrants in CBP custody. And get this, nearly 9,000 of those encounters were in just a single day. Sources are telling me that a normal number for holdings is around 10,000. They consider 15,000 to be busy, and 22,000 is, quote, unbelievable, which is where numbers were yesterday. The Rio Grande Valley is leading in migrant apprehensions right now along the southern border. The city of Brownsville declared a state of emergency this week amid the influx. El Paso, meanwhile, is number 2 right now for apprehensions. That city also announcing a disaster declaration due to what leaders are saying are unsustainable numbers. Migrants are once again camping on the streets of the so-called sanctuary city. Back in Brownsville, meanwhile, Governor Abbott is conducting mandatory checks on commercial vehicles crossing the border from Mexico. They began these operations on the International Bridge Tuesday. They will be continuing those until Sunday, May 7th. Texas DPS saying that the operation is currently only happening in Brownsville. And to help relieve some of the pressure on the processing centers in the Rio Grande Valley, sheriffs within the Del Rio sector, which is where Eagle Pass is, which is really the epicenter of this crisis, they're telling me that buses of migrants are coming to the sector from the RGV to be processed by Border Patrol, while agents in other sectors, like the coastal sector, are jumping in right now. It's all hands on deck doing virtual processing. Okay, so we've talked about these 1,500 troops that the Biden administration is sending down to the southern border. So let's be realistic about what that means. These 1,500 troops will not actually have processing authority. They will not have removal authority. So agents are saying it's not really going to help them. They're not able to actually remove anyone from the country or do any of this processing. So they're going to be doing more administrative roles, which is what we're seeing the U.S. Marshal Service also doing down here. And so Border Patrol will still be processing and not patrolling out in the field. Adrienne.
I just had one question for you, Allie. In terms of the people who are going to be crossing over as a result of Title 42 expiring, are a lot of those people going to be those who are just waiting on the other side of the border in Mexico, who were prevented from coming or who were immediately expelled, and they're just going to try again? So they're just waiting there?
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that is the conversation being had. There are thousands of people waiting on the other side in El Paso. The mayor there saying there are 10,000 migrants just waiting on the other side of the gate that basically know that they qualify for expulsion under Title 42. So if that's the case, they're going to wait for this to end. But a lot of people are having the conversations as well, Adrienne, about that people have to go to these checkpoints, these ports of entry in order to cross in. But with the sheer number that they're expecting, law enforcement just don't expect that to be the case. They expect that they will surge at all bridge points, not just at ports of entry.
As they've been doing. Thank you very much, Allie. We appreciate it. Let's go.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.